Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf. Um, if you're following BookTube, you know about the BookTubePrize. And the semifinals just ended. Robert put up an announcement video about the finalists. I will leave a link to Robert's channel down below because Robert from Britta Bolt, he is the one organizing this new prize. And I can't thank you enough, Robert, for doing this because first of all, it's such a brilliant idea, and second of all, is so much fun judging the books. Anyway, so the semi-final rounds, two rounds, Group A and Group B, have ended, and people have put up their videos of ranking how they rank the books, and I wanted to do that as well. So my 6 books in my group, Group B, and I will tell you how I ranked them. The 6 books in my group, Group B in alphabetical order by the author, you will find down below with a link to the Goodreads. So just very briefly, it's Akwekwe Emezi Freshwater, Aminatta Forna Happiness, Fatima Farheen Mirza A Place for Us, Tommie Orange There, and Delia Owens When the Crawdads Sing. But before I tell you about the ranking, I wanted to give a couple of remarks how I went about doing it. Because one of the really fun things about this is to see how people evaluate books. And the videos by Sean, for instance, and Doris in my group, so I can compare, they were really interesting because they not only gave the ranking, but also explained how they rank and what is important to them. And I think that that's a really fascinating discussion. If you're not familiar with the BookTubePrize, please check out Robert's videos where he explains everything. I just wanted to say, for those of you who might not be aware of it, there are 6 books in the group and we don't have to rate them, we have to rank them, which means from 1, the best, to 6, the worst book in that group. In other words, even if all 6 books would have been 5-star books for you, you still have to find a way to rank them from best to worst, which is an interesting experience to do by itself. As for my personal way of approaching it, if you watch other booktubers who were judges, you will come across the same aspects of or elements of a book by all of them. You know, you have theme, like is it a book about marriage or a coming of age? You have plot, how is that theme then developed, by which characters, the setting, the structure in which the novel is told. Is it told in backflash? Is it a book written in letters? And the language, of course. So we all agree on these elements, but the point is that we all individually weigh these elements differently. That's the first aspect I think you have to keep in mind. So it probably doesn't surprise you if you're following me, if you know me, then you know that plot is a very important thing for me. For me, it's the backbone of a story. So if there's a plot hole or if the plot is not well developed, that will bug me. Character is important, but not as important to me as plot. Setting, for instance, is something that I don't give that much weight to. If it's done badly, of course, I will notice it, but it's not something that is really very important to me. By the way, that's probably the reason that I don't enjoy fantasy, because the setting, the development of the world is so important, and it's just not my thing. Structure and language certainly play a role for me, but as Sean put it, I thought that was a really interesting thought. What flaws am I willing to forgive and still think a book deserves place number 1? And for me, if the language is overwhelming and really fantastic, that will factor into my ranking. But I can forgive a book if the language is just, nothing special. Structure is a more important thing for me because it plays into plot, whether the plot is put into a structure that is really good. So that plays definitely a role for me. So if I look at the book, these elements all play a role, but I weigh them differently than, for instance, Heidi does. I leave a link to her video in the other group A below, or Jacqueline from 6 Minutes for Me, also group A. And that makes for the fact that people can look at the same book and rank it really differently. And the question I'm asking myself when I'm reading a book, when weighing these different elements, given that plot is really important to me, is, does it make sense? Does it work? Does the book deliver what it is supposed to deliver? So in other words, if there is a plot hole, I will weigh that probably higher than that the setting doesn't appeal to me. Not probably, most definitely. So in other words, looking at those 6 books, the pet peeves you have, to put it like that, play an important role. So you take your own weighing scale, and then if there is a, for instance, if there is a book and there's a legal aspect to it, the legal proceedings or whatever, and if that is not correct, it will just blow me from the book. It will, the suspension of disbelief is gone for me. So, and not everybody has the same pet peeves, that's for sure, because we, like I said, we weigh things differently. But for me, looking at the book, also the characters, they have to make sense. Their actions have to make sense for me within that plot. So if a character appears to me to be just portrayed as a stereotypical male or female or child or whatever, it doesn't make sense to me in that plot, in that structure, and I will notice, and it will certainly play an important role within my ranking. The second aspect, after you have weighed all these elements, the second aspect is a little more difficult to grapple with or to explain. It's a sort of an X factor, and that is the way a particular reader, an individual reader, connects with the book, connects with the reading experience. And in my point of view, I mean, that's all very generalizing, and sometimes take it all with a grain of salt, what I'm saying now. But I think that the types of reader are either mirror readers or window readers. And what I mean by that is, to start with the last, a mirror reader wants to connect with the book emotionally. They want to reflect the book back to their heart, so to speak, and feel a connection, an emotional connection with the book. And more importantly, of course, with the characters. So for a mirror reader, character and theme will really be very important. If you look at Sean, for instance, I hope, Sean, you don't mind that I give you as an example. He wants an emotional response when he reads a book. And by the way, it's not that one is good and one is bad. It's just a different way of connecting with the book. If you are a mirror reader, that is what you're looking for. If you are more of a window reader, you want to experience surprise. You want to see something new. You want to be told or taught or shown something that you haven't thought about. So it's more, not so much feeling, but triggering your thinking, that the book makes you think. It doesn't probably surprise you that I fall in that last category. I'm your typical window reader. I want to be surprised. I want to be triggered thinking. I don't need an emotional connection with the characters. I want to be finding in a book something new, something that I haven't seen before, or that makes me think about a theme or a topic or a development, which is also probably because that I like thrillers, because plot twists that surprise me, that take me off my of my game is something that I really value in a book. In other words, if you say that a mirror reader wants this emotional reflection back to them, they want to feel this emotional connection. A window reader is seeing the reading experience as a window to a world or to an idea that they haven't experienced yet, something that is new to them. And you can imagine with both mirror and window readers, your own personal preferences, your personal experience will play an important role, whether or not you connect with the book. Doesn't matter whether mirror or window, the connection depends on what you as a person bring into the book. So now I've talked longer than 10 minutes about my way of looking at it. I think I should probably now tell you how I rank the books. And in doing so, I will only give a 1 or 2 sentence summary of the plot of the book. If you are not familiar with any of the books and you're interested in a more extensive summary, you should check out Robert's announcement video of the finalists, because he gives a really good, concise summary of each book without spoiling anything. Coming in at number 6 is An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. This is a book about a young black couple, quite successful, just on the verge of, breaking through, and then the husband is arrested for a crime he didn't commit, and the story then develops from that premise. I ranked it last because the book for me didn't deliver at all on what it was supposed to do. The main theme, the criminal justice system, how it affects especially the black community or the POC community in the United States, was completely underdeveloped. The characters didn't make sense. They were very stereotypical. Boys will be boys and they fight for the girl, and that was just nah. And there were plot developments, plot twists. For instance, the man meeting somebody in prison that were just so beyond believable that, the book didn't make sense to me, so I ranked it number 6. Coming in at number 5 is another book, like An American Marriage, that is beloved by many, and that is A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mirza. This is a book about a Muslim family in the US. The oldest daughter, Haida, is getting married, and the marriage the marriage ceremony and the festivities are the sort of backbone of the structure of the book. We learn about the family history, the parents' first generation immigrants, and we especially learn about a brother, Rafiq, who had been gone for a while, and it turns out that he has a drug addiction problem, and the story revolves around that family dealing with their various problems in the family, let's put it like that. I didn't like this book. I thought it was not a successful delivery. I thought the plot was boring. It didn't surprise me in any sense with any of the themes that were developed in the plot, neither the addiction part nor the Muslim experience in the United States. That was, by the way, what drew me to the book, that I thought that is interesting. But my main experience of the book was that it was boring. I ranked it higher than An American Marriage because A Place for Us is a debut. And I always think that you should cut debut authors some slack. So that's why it's ranked 5th, and American Marriage 6th. Number 4, and that is Delia Owens' Where the Crawdads Sing. The book is a combination of a coming-of-age story and a mystery, a thriller. It's set in the marshlands of North Carolina, and we follow one main character, Kia, from childhood to old age. I have to say that old age is only a small portion of the book. Main portion is the childhood up to her teenage years, and she lives alone. She's abandoned by her parents, and we follow her developing into a not only being self-sufficient and living alone, but we follow her into love affairs and success later in life, tied in with the mystery, the death of a football player in town. I didn't think this was a good book because the plotline was just so unbelievable. There were plot twists, especially towards the end, that I thought didn't make any sense, at least not to me. The way that Delia, that's the author, that Kia was successful, quote unquote, how she managed to live, I couldn't believe that either. But I ranked it higher than the other two books, number 5 and number 6, because of the language and the writing. I thought the atmosphere in that marshland cabin and the way the living there was portrayed, the nature writing was just really good, and that's why it was, for me, a better book than the other two. But if you look at my ratings, for instance, all 3 books were 2-star reads for me. And then on to the 3 books that I thought deserved to go on to the finalists. Because of each group, A and B, the first 3 overall of each group will make it to the finals. And my number 3 is Tommie Orange's debut, There. This is a story told in 12 interconnected stories, each story focusing on a different character, all of them Native Americans. And it tells me something about the life of Native Americans in the US today. It also jumps back and forth a little bit in history, so it gives some historical background as well. I didn't love this book. I rated it 3 stars on Goodreads, which for me means it's a good book, but not a wow book. And it was good because for me it gave something new, something to learn about the experience, the life of Native Americans today, and what it means to live as a Native American. So that was something that I really appreciated. But I didn't think these 12 interconnected stories made up an overall really convincing plot. It was, for me, too fragmented. The ending was a bit of, a showdown that didn't make sense to me either. So I couldn't rank it higher than 3, but I thought it still deserved a place in the finals, and it did make the finals, by the way. And number 2 book was Aminatta Forna's novel Happiness. The book is set in present-day London, and we follow 2 main characters, Jean, an American who is in London to study urban foxes, and Attila, who is a psychiatrist from Ghana, who is in London to deliver a keynote speech in a conference. They meet by chance, and then they both go looking for Tano, a little boy, the son of a friend of Attila's, who's living in London illegally and who is missing. I really loved this book because of the way it told, for me, a different story of urban life, of the connection between nature and life in a city, but also it ties into that story, the story of immigration life, of the people who live as immigrants in London, because Jean, the Fox researcher, has a whole group of people she engages in fox watching, doormen, taxi drivers, garbage men, most of them immigrants, and they all help searching for Tano. I thought this look on friendship, connectiveness, but also life in the city from different perspectives was really fresh. I loved the writing as well. I'm a fan of Aminatta Forna's work anyway. So I thought this was a really good book, and it deserved to go to the finals, and happily it did. And the book that I ranked number 1, no suspense here because there's only 1 book left in the 6, and that is Freshwater by Akwekwe Emezi. This is a debut novel as well, and it follows Ada, who was born in Nigeria and then later moves to the US to go to college. And Ada is inhabited by various spirits. It's a coming-of-age story, but it also deals with the fact that various spirits live in yourself and how that affects your life. I thought this book was brilliant. I ranked it higher than Happiness, even though I love them equally because it's a debut, and I thought that was amazing. And especially because the plot and the premise of the idea of Ada being inhabited by Igbo spirits challenges our Western conception of mind and uh, quote unquote mental disorders like schizophrenia or a split personality disorder, and gives a completely different outlook on these themes. And I thought that was so brilliant and so new to me that I ranked it number one. More than 20 minutes, I'm sure, now. If you have made it to the end, I congratulate you and I thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it despite the length. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about the books, if you read them, or about my system of ranking. I'm really curious to know, and I will talk to you all soon. Oh, by the way, I will leave all 6 finalists down below, also the 3 that made it from Group A. But anyway, I'll talk to you soon in the next one. Bye-bye.